Meritocracy is all about equality of opportunities, not equality of outcome. We are facing the same fate at the end of the finish line. Meritocracy is tightly intertwined with evolution, and although many people don't agree how we are constructing our societies, I would like to go through one video discussing the ways of meritocracy and how we view competence. I think there were some points I was disagreeing with. Even better, there has to be some kind of a clash. Let's go ahead and dissect the video.
Politicians from all walks of life nowadays agree on one thing. We need to build more meritocratic societies. That is, societies where everyone, no matter what their background is, has the chance to succeed on their own merits. This is a beautiful idea, responsible for some great things, like free education for all, positive discrimination, and a real effort to end nepotism in business and government.
I think the way he worded that meritocracy is promoting positive discrimination sounded kind of weird, because I don't think that's what he meant. Positive discrimination is the opposite of meritocracy. Meritocracy is all about equality of opportunities, not equality of outcome, which what positive discrimination is. Because we want certain types of individuals to fit into the society, confirm our general narrative, it's good for us to take in those kind of people that we are lacking, so that we can showcase that everyone can succeed. Where in reality we can deny people the entrance to the higher echelons of society just because they represent the majority of the population, regardless of their true competence. But what is true is that everyone has the same opportunities. Although different starting points, we have the ability to achieve whatever we wish for, only if we show discipline and perseverance.
We've largely done away with the old world of feudalism, where lords couldn't manage their estates, commanders couldn't understand the principles of battle, and peasants were brighter than their masters. No longer is background an impassable obstacle to advancement. An element of justice has finally entered into the distribution of rewards. It's been going on for about 250 years, ever since Napoleon declared that the ranks of the French army and civil service would henceforth be open to all on merit rather than family background. It's been a brilliant development, but there is, importantly, a darker side to the idea of meritocracy.
Where I disagree is that he says that meritocracy has been around like 200 years, but meritocracy is deeply ingrained in evolution, how we developed and became better in every sense of this word. Meritocracy is based upon rewarding results, and results is what gotten us to this point where we can sit on our asses in a comfortable position and order delivery pizza. If we correlate it to evolution, we get the same slogan: survival of the fittest. The fittest gets the most reward. And that's the whole thought process of meritocracy. Of course, there are discriminations, but if you let it to become the central point of your living situation, it becomes the huge mental barrier hindering you to go after things that you desire, something that you can blame on. We don't have to look further. We have internet and social media. You can look up different people from different walks of life who have become successful regardless of the adversities that they faced, no matter if they had some kind of a handicap or social background that made them to go against all odds. Of course, there have to be a lot of sacrifices, but that's another topic.
Because if we truly believe that we've created, or could one day create, a world where the successful truly merited all their success, it necessarily follows that we'd have to argue that the failures were exclusively responsible for their failure. In a meritocratic age, an element of justice enters into the distribution of wealth and status, of course, but also of poverty. Low status comes to seem not just regrettable, but also deserved.
Status is your contribution to society as a whole, the value that you create, regardless if it's just entertainment, or you are being social figure, or reaching some technological advancements that have never been seen before. Whatever you do, what kind of an occupation you have, doesn't matter. If you are getting rich, you are creating value. I'm not saying that it's always righteous, but that's how society works. At least it has to be a kind of perception that you create value. And also feeling like a failure. It's not like someone overtly communicates to you that you are a failure. If you are not trying to better yourself and reach newer heights, you will sense that there's something missing in life and that you are not getting the full experience of it. In terms of not having quality people around you or not having financial power to have a comfortable life.
Succeeding financially without inheritance or contacts in an economic meritocracy gives individuals an element of personal validation that the nobleman of old, who'd been given his money and his castle by his father, had never been able to feel. But at the same time, financial failure has become associated with a sense of shame that the peasant of old, denied all chances in life, had also thankfully been spared. The question of why, if one's in any way good, clever, or able, one is still poor, becomes infinitely more acute and painful for the unsuccessful to have to answer to themselves and other people in a new meritocratic age.
The beauty of meritocracy is that you can try to wiggle your way, fake into becoming successful. Things that are done in the dark have the tendency to come to the light. And equality of opportunity is a total reflection of survival of the fittest. It may take a lot of time for you than somebody else to reach a certain goal. Nevertheless, you have that opportunity, especially in the internet age that we live in. You don't have to go and knock on the doors to lick asses and become somebody else's delivery boy. You have all the tools at hand. You can choose to invest your time. You can choose to practice a lot, not getting any recognition during a long period of time. But nothing is done in vain. You will always get something out of each and every experience in your life. And no, I am not denying nepotism, helping out your friends, your family members, and becoming this almost incestuous organization where the power is harnessed and gathered by people of a close circle. What I'm saying is that there are always other ways of reaching the kind of experience that you are after. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that we all desire is fulfilling life.
There's turned out to be no shortage of people willing to answer the question on behalf of the poor. For a certain constituency, it's clear, and perhaps even scientifically provable, that the poor owe their position to their own stupidity and degeneracy. With the rise of an economic meritocracy, in certain quarters, the poor have moved from being described as unfortunate, the target of the charity and guilt of the paternally minded rich, to being described as failures, fair targets of contempt in the eyes of robust, self-made individuals who are disinclined to feel shamed about their mansions or shed crocodile tears for those whose company they've escaped.
This is one of the first things that happen to people who get up in ranks. They choose to move along, move to another area where the people are more successful. Because we tend to identify ourselves with similar-minded, similar kind of people. And as your status rises, you choose a different social circle. Not because you have become a snob, but because you want to associate yourself with even more successful people, so that you can learn something from them. The downside of such areas is that generations after generations, children of self-made people start to disconnect themselves from reality of how society is, not understanding the position of the poor part of population. As an example, I could say that there's an immigration problem in the whole Europe, and the funny thing is that the journalists who are promoting this open border policy are those who live in better areas. They have no clue what's happening in those struggling areas with minimal integration and higher rates of poverty, yet they are proponents of open border policies.
In the harsher climate of opinion that can gestate in the fertile corners of meritocratic societies, it's become possible to argue that the social hierarchy rigorously reflects the qualities of the members on every rung of the ladder, and so that conditions already in place for good people to succeed and the dummies to flounder, attenuating the need for charity, welfare, redistributive measures, or simple compassion. It's a symptom of our great faith in meritocracy that it's largely become impossible to explain away our failures as the result of bad luck.
I think he kind of tries to downplay the role of meritocracy in societies, painting it in a more evil state, or maybe I'm misunderstanding, but however, he sounds a little bit skeptic. Yet I agree that many elitists and wealthy people try to virtue signal through creating organizations that take care of less fortunate people so that they get credibility in the eyes of the public, playing the Mother Teresa role. There's no such thing as luck. There's something called compounded effect of persistency. If you're giving up just after first encounter with adversity, there's no one to blame, only yourself. A master failed more times than a student made attempts.
While it's granted that luck maintains a theoretical role in shaping the course of our careers, the evaluation of people proceeds in practical terms as if they could all fairly be held responsible for what happens to them. It would seem duly and even suspiciously modest to ascribe a victory to good luck, and more importantly, it would be pitiable to blame defeat just on bad luck. Winners make their own luck. That's what modern society tells us.
A person who takes accountability and leadership over his own life will always be empowered. And that means not giving up regardless. You refuse to succumb to the pressure of doing things like everyone else has been always doing.
It's tough living in a world so in love with the idea that we're all responsible for everything that it's largely dismissed bad luck as a credible explanation for defeat. But, of course, there can never be a truly meritocratic system, because the merit of an individual is far too complex and subtle a thing to be determined by what job you end up having and how much money you end up earning.
I agree with that point, because as we grow in population in the world, we become more socialistic because it's much easier to control, manage masses with socialism. Yet, on the other hand, the role of meritocracy grows as well, because thanks to internet, digitization of the world, we are clipping and cutting the middleman. So the role of bureaucracy shrinks, and you don't have to have heavyweight connections in order to succeed in life. And also regarding the not having the total meritocracy in the world, yeah, I agree. As I said before, we have a lot of nepotism in politics and business world. So personal connection, interpersonal relationships will always play a huge role in human history, in human lives and civilizations. Because we're social and we always want to connect with those who we have similarities with and who can fit that role better than family and friends.
Those who have faith in meritocracy are essentially subscribing to an insane and certainly arrogant assumption that ordinary humans, employers or customers, can handily take over the solemn responsibilities that past ages more wisely left in the hands of a god who, helped along by the angels, was due to weigh the souls of each person on the day of judgment. No one in this world ever gets exactly what they deserve, in terms both of the good things and the bad things. Life is to a large extent, we don't quite admit to, random, in a way that the meritocratic philosophy denies.
Yes, life is random, but you have higher chance to succeed, to get somewhere in life, if you presuppose that your hard work will lead to something, which is true. As I said before, even if you don't reach success overnight, which is impossible, you will always get an experience. And a wise and knowledgeable person has always higher chance getting somewhere. It's the same thing telling that you have a very small chance succeeding just because you are not born in a certain family. Well, guess what? Life is a risk anyway. If you go outside of your house, you're already risking your life. You are already risking your health. So what are we supposed to do? Sit on our asses and do nothing? Pain is inevitable. So the least thing we can do is go out there and try to create a life that we would be proud of.
To free ourselves from some of the more punishing side effects of a meritocratic worldview, it would be wise to cease investing something as haphazardly distributed as jobs and money with moral connotations. And we should retain a little of the old-fashioned, modest belief in a distinction between what someone earns and what they're like as humans.
Yes, humanity and meritocracy are different things. Meritocracy is something that we do in order to go forward in society. And I saw some comments under this video about PhDs being cab drivers, taxi drivers. Although I understand that there are duties, there's always a possibility for you to choose. What you do today doesn't have to be the same thing that you do tomorrow. Your human worth cannot be taken from you. And as a proof, you just have to know that we are facing the same fate at the end of the finish line. What I am trying to say is that you have to do something in order to alleviate the suffering as much as possible. And meritocracy gives everyone a chance. And remember, I never said that meritocracy is fair, because life isn't fair. Life is just. Are you team equality of opportunity or team equality of outcome? Comment down below and tell me why. And for now, Hossein out.